January 3rd, 2024, public hearing and regular meeting of the Committee on Administration, Finance, and Law. The time is now 6:31 p.m. Ms. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Connors.
Here.
Alderman Barbosa. Here. Alderman McNamara.
Here.
Alderman Simpson.
Here.
Alderman Gibson.
Here.
Alderman Smedley.
Present.
Alderman Beloyd Savitra. Here. Also seated are Alderman Scott and Alderman Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I have a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice? So moved. Do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion to waive the reading made by Alderman Smedley, seconded by Alderman Simpson. The reading is waived. Having been noticed properly, we'll begin the public hearing. Please remember to state your name and address for the record and limit your speaking to 3 minutes. The first item for public hearing is item number 36290 to amend the Section 196 of the Code of Ordinances to update the duties on the Commission of Human Rights and Opportunities. Are there any speakers for this item? Yes, ma'am. Please approach the microphone.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just make a point of clarification, I'm going to invite you all up to speak when we actually take it up for action. So this is just for public comment. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right. Are there any speakers for this item going twice? Are there any speakers for this item? Seeing no speakers, we will move on to the next item. Second item for public hearing is item number 36303 to amend the Code of Ordinances by adding Section 244.2, including clarifying language, establishing an audit subcommittee of the Committee on Administration, Finance, and Law. Are there any speakers for this item? Are there any speakers for this item? Third time, are there any speakers for this item? Seeing no speakers, we will close the public hearing and move on to the regular meeting. The time is now 6:33 p.m. All right. The first item on the agenda is item number 36290 to amend Section 196 of the Code of Ordinances to update the CHRO. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chair?
I see.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to refer to the council item number 1 with a favorable recommendation.
Is there any discussion? Seconded?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I just have a question related to some of the language changes that we're going to make to this, and I know that Jarrell Hargraves is here and
Yes.
has Jessica Angelo Julian, who's the chair of the commission, with him. Can I invite you all up to the podium, Mr. Chair?
Yes, that would be appropriate. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you just start with a quick description of the language changes that you intend to make here?
Well, some members of the commission have been working for the past, over the past year or so, just evaluating the ordinances to try to make it more relevant for the time that we have today. So there's a few minor changes. Most of them is just changing the oversee to monitor, which is pretty much what they do. We monitor many of the aspects that relate to discrimination and those aspects. So those are the main changes. There was an additional item of 13 added to monitor and oversee all affordable housing units. So what the commission wanted to do is kind of be like a check and balance, because currently all deed restricted properties that have to have affordable housing is monitored by our Department of Planning and Development, and they keep track of that to make sure that landlords are following those deed restrictions. So it's just another, just a level to make sure that the commission wants to have a little oversight and just to monitor to make sure that, A, there's no discrimination in those units, and two, that they're actually following them to make sure that they are going to those low-income families.
Okay. So I spoke with some of my other colleagues on the council earlier today, and we just had a small question, maybe not really a concern, but the overall generalness of that statement makes me nervous. Monitor and oversee all affordable housing units administered by this city. Is there any other language, and I know this is on the spot, we did talk earlier, but is there any other language that would better fit what the commission's desire is instead of that?
So if you want to change, if you want any other amendment, maybe possibly, and I just discussed this with Corporation Counsel, is the commission can occasionally request a report regarding affordable housing units as administered by the Department of Planning and Development. It might
Okay.
kind of be instead of
So
monitoring, more
the
as
language,
receiving.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The language would read, the commission may request,
A report regarding affordable housing units administered by the Department of Planning and Development.
hold on, may request a report related to affordable housing
Units.
Housing units that's administered by the Department of Planning and Development.
as administered by the Department of Planning and Development, not the
Correct.
city. It is administered by Planning and Development, I believe.
They don't administer housing.
They administer the program.
What, I'm sorry?
They administer the program, not the housing.
Which program?
So the affordable housing, they oversee it. So those are pretty much city funds or federal funds that are used to rehab properties, to update them. They have deed restrictions, so they have to follow these certain affordable housing units depending on, a certain percentage of the AMI. So, so they do monitor it throughout. So I think that just saying that the commission can request a report just so they can see what's happening is what they want to do. If you want to speak
If
more.
I may,
Yeah.
it's just to make sure there's equity. We don't make decisions. The mayor guides us in what we have to do, and we just make sure that everything is balanced. There's no decisions being made by the board. So that's right off the bat.
Yeah. My question or concern was that I don't want to put us in a place that makes it look like we are making decisions with this language. So I agree with the suggested amendment of
Okay.
may request a report, because I think it accomplishes what you all want and puts the city in a better position than the statement that was proposed.
Okay, so what's the modification now?
So,
The language?
So, Mr. Chairman, motion to amend item number 1. Can I have a second?
Second.
And my amendment would read, I'm going to strike all of item number 13 and replace the language with 13. The commission may request a report related to affordable housing as administered by the Department of Planning and Development. And through you, Mr. Chairman of Corporation Council, does that satisfy everything that I need to there?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the top of that says the duties of the commission shall include the following. So do you need the commission at the beginning? Can you just say may request a
Fair.
report?
So strike the commission. So my amendment will read, may request a report related to affordable housing as administered by the Department of Planning and Development.
That sounds good.
And, Madam Commissioner, that satisfies what the commission wanted
Yes,
as well?
that's fine.
Okay. My intent is to not change what your end goal was. I just want to make sure that it
Okay.
makes sense for us.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman, or Mrs. Smedley, or,
Chair recognizes John McNair.
thank you. With the amended language, does this include monitoring the, what we call Section 8s, they're called vouchers now, administered, I believe, by the Housing Authority? No?
Just the city.
And then, of course, there's a big debate raging about what is affordable housing and what isn't going on. So I'm wondering if the city has its own definition, or is it based on HUD?
It's based on HUD, And certain deed restrictions have certain different restrictions depending on, their gross income and depending on how much that is to the average in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McNamara. I have a amendment on the floor. Any second?
I did.
Thank you. So we have an amendment on the floor, seconded by Alderman Saavedra. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing no further, yes, thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Barbosa.
Yeah, this is all new to me. I just have a couple questions as to why is the language being changed? When was it written and when was it last changed and why is it being changed now?
We're trying to come up to 2024 now. The language is antiquated. So we're trying to fit it to this time, this age. A lot of our responsibilities have been stricken out, so we are here to just monitor equity. We're not here to make any decisions. So the language before, I don't have the old one, we were not creating any new rules, we were not formulating any laws. And the words that were there before was established, we don't establish anything. That's the mayor's office, that's you guys. We're just here to monitor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Barbosa. Would you mind turning off your mic? Oh, one more?
One more question. In changing this verbiage, did it ever affect funding?
No.
We are completely funded by the city.
You're completely funded by the city. Okay. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Alderman Simpson.
Thank you. Are there any specific functions of the city which would change based on the language, moving from oversee to monitor? Oversee seems to just have more of a direct hands-on, and monitor seems to have a more passive looking into things. I'm just wondering, like, any functions or...
The mayor's office oversees. The Commission on Human Rights and Opportunity monitors. So that's just how the layout is. Nothing for the city is changing. It's just our core responsibilities is what we're trying to clarify. Sense? Make sense? No?
So these ordinances were originally written in 1980. Since then, the powers of boards and commissions are not the same.
It's all changed.
So we're just trying to reflect the times that we're in now after our charter change in 2000 kind of took away a lot of those powers from boards and commissions to the mayor's office.
All set? Thank you, Alderman Simpson. So we have a motion to refer with a favorable recommendation. Excuse me. Excuse me, I apologize. We have a vote of the amendment that's been seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the amendment as stated, say aye. 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 Any opposed, say nay. The amendment carries. Thank you. So this item replaces the agenda? Right. So, again, we have item number 36290 as amended. May I have a motion for to accept and refer to the full council with either a neutral, favorable, or unfavorable recommendation?
Favorable recommendation.
I have a favorable recommendation made by Alderwoman Saavedra. Do I have a second? Excuse me.
That motion was already made
Oh, I apologize.
originally.
All right.
So it's just, you're going to the original motion as amended once, and you're voting on that.
Great. So we have the original motion as amended, and it's been seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. The motion carries. All right. The second item on the agenda is item number 36298, a $38,700 expenditure to Gengris Ford for the purchase of a Ford Explorer for the New Britain Assessor's Office. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chair,
The chair recognizes Alderman Smedley.
I make a motion to accept and refer to the council with a neutral recommendation, item 36298.
Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Pabon, I believe. Excuse me, Alderman Gibson.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd like to invite Mr. Plumley up to the podium.
That would be great.
Mr. Plumley is our fleet manager from the city and makes the vehicle purchase recommendations and plans for the city.
Pleased to meet you.
Good evening, everybody.
Mr. Plumley, can you just, there's some new committee members here. Can you just explain the purpose that you bring to the city and the report that you generate yearly for us about the fleet in a very brief manner, so they have some understanding?
I oversee all of the fleet of every vehicle in the city. Also, I do a biannual fleet report, which is coming out probably at the end of January, at the end of this month. So all you guys will understand how the fleet runs, the life cycles of all the vehicles and stuff like that. So, this particular vehicle is replacing a 2001 Chevy Cavalier. The vehicle that is in question, you say, is a gas guzzler and stuff like that. I buy all these vehicles. This new vehicle is going to have a 4-cylinder engine, so it's more carbon neutral. As we all know, the supply chain's a little broken right now, so if I order smaller vehicles, it could take up to 18 months. I try to get stuff that's already on the floor and ready to go as soon as possible because of the supply chain issue. Right now, we're looking into a lot of hybrids. That's the next move with our fleet. So,
Mr. Plumley, the 2001 Chevy Cavalier that's being replaced, that's a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder?
that's a 4-cylinder also.
Also.
But it's also, I can't get parts for it anymore. And it's quite rusted.
And being that we live in New England and we have regular snow, the Ford Explorer probably warrants some...
It has all-wheel drive, so it's for the winter time. These guys can get out more and more. And also, they have 2 vehicles that they're utilizing at the moment. I'm taking those 2 vehicles for 1. So that's another plus for us, as far as the carbon footprint and all that stuff.
On the motion, Mr. Chair?
Thank you.
Mr. Pl-
Proceed.
Mr. Plumley, thanks for answering these questions, Mr. Plumley.
Not a problem.
I think the overall intent of referring this to this committee and not moving forward with it on December 15th was to make a point about exactly what you said. Carbon-based, is there a policy being developed that exists, turning to hybrids,
Absolutely.
EVs, and that sort of thing? And has it been formalized? I know you have cooperative purchasing. I know you do bids yourself when necessary.
Correct.
So is that a formalized policy to
Yes. Yeah.
move to that?
Everything is going to be moving towards, less carbon, less fuel consumption, less maintenance and all that stuff. That is going to be in my fleet report, so you all will kind of get a grasp of how everything is, what we're heading towards. And like I said, right now I'm in the midst of 8 vehicles for the police department. The state just purchased 50 of them, but they returned 30. So I'm trying to get my hands on 8 hybrid police cars to give those a try and to obviously save us some money and the carbon neutral stuff.
Okay.
So we are heading in that direction.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'd like that kind of formalized if it hasn't been emphasized in the past, and I'm
It
sure you're
definitely
doing.
has been in the past, and also, like I said, when the fleet report comes out, you'll see that there's, there'll be a little excerpt of what we're planning on doing in the future,
Yeah.
so.
I wanted to be the last person to pick on the city assessor's office in terms of this, to make an example of it, but we thought it would be good to have this discussion. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman McNamara. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Savedra.
Thank you. While you're here, I just want to ask a question about the cost difference between buying a car that fully is relied on gas versus hybrid or totally electric. When you're looking at the whole fleet for the city and replacing gas cars with hybrid cars, what's the cost differential between the cars?
It is more expensive to go hybrid. Fully electric, we just don't have the infrastructure right now to do fully electric vehicles. Parking enforcement, they have one of the first newer hybrids, and it's been a great success with those guys. I think they're averaging 40-plus miles to a gallon with those vehicles. So that's what we're trying to do as far as all the administrative staffing, is to do that, is to go hybrid first off. And then once the infrastructure gets built, then we can go all electric and stuff like that.
When you're looking at the fleet, is the money coming through LoCIP or in the, capital funds, or is it coming through the general budget?
It's mostly coming through the general fund, and there are some cases where LoCIP and some of the other come into play, but it's mostly the general fund.
So I saw at the last council meeting, a lot of what you're buying are hybrids. This was one that stood out, which is why it got sent here, so this discussion could be had at the committee level. But my concern is, at budget time, and I don't know what you're projecting to buy in terms of fleet moving into 2024, if we're going hybrid, and we're talking about the budget, what the impact on the budget is going to be in terms of really focusing on hybrids as opposed to the traditional gas car vehicles.
It is a little bit more money up front, but I think you'll recoup that in the back end.
In over what period of time?
Anywhere between 2 and 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alderwoman Serveja. Any other discussion? The chair recognizes Alderman Simpson.
Thank you. Do we have some sort of life expectancy for this new purchase? Either expressed in years, I know we can't really tell the future all the time, subject to wear and tear, but either in like years or miles?
Yes. The fleet report has a breakdown of all the equipment, all the stuff as far as age-wise, and we're expecting that this vehicle will last anywhere between 12 and 15 years minimum. We're actually getting over that. We're getting like 20 years out of our vehicles, of the admin vehicles. You know, the police department, we are an exception. We keep our vehicles for over 10 years. A lot of police departments are 3 to 5 years turnover. So we are a huge exception to that. So.
Thank you, Alderman Simpson. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing no further discussion, may I have a motion?
It's already me.
Oh, it's already me. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the motion to refer with a favorable recommendation, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All of,
It was a new.
It was neutral, sorry.
oh, excuse me. Seeing no further discussion, the motion to refer with a neutral recommendation, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion carries. Thank you. The third item on the agenda is number 36303, to amend the Code of Ordinances by adding Section 244.2, including clarifying language establishing an audit subcommittee on the Committee of Administration, Finance, and Law. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, could I make a motion for a favorable recommendation onto the council on this resolution?
The motion to refer with a favorable recommendation is made by Alderman McNamara, seconded by Alderman Simpson. Any discussion?
Well, if I could speak to the motion and the reason for it, in us starting out, this being our first subcommittee meeting and our coming up on our third council meeting, at least for me, there has been an audit committee of the council in the past. I recognize some committees were consolidated. And in getting help on research, I found that the definition in the state statute is that the appointing authority of the independent auditor is the council. And I have, maybe the council can help, I have been unable to find any involvement by the Common Council in the last 9 or 10 years in the selection of the independent auditor. And this is simply about conforming to state statute, specifically Section 7-391, and ensuring that the government works best when we have checks and balances between the council and the executive branch. And this is not a committee that will meet every week to allay any fears any counselors has. This is to, and I think it's prudent and good governance from time to time to go out and do RFQs for the accounting firm that does the audits and the single state federal audit that we've been hearing about. And I think the council has to be involved from the inception, looking at proposals, and as the state law states, be the appointing authority for the independent auditor. And that's really the motivation behind it. And it fits within the definition in the ordinances of what the AFL committee is, does, and should do. And so, not that we don't have enough meetings, but I think this is a necessary part of the council fulfilling its responsibilities to taxpayers, and again, saying that checks and balances is necessary for good governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McNamara. Any other discussion?
Could I just raise a point of order?
Yes.
So, I just want to, because there's a lot of new members, under the ordinances 2-28, it states that any changes or amendments to the ordinances should be run through the Corporation Counsel's office for purposes of determining the legality of it. So again, just moving forward, any changes to the ordinances should go through the Corporation Counsel's office. And I just have just one issue with this section under duties. The first sentence states that the subcommittee is going to provide general oversight of the finance department functions, including compliance and with applicable laws and regulations relating to financial controls and other related matters. I believe that's in conflict with the charter because the mayor is the appointing authority and the chief executive officer who oversees all the departments. So I just want to bring that to your attention.
So question, Mr. Chair.
The chair recognizes Alderwoman Saavedra.
So, Attorney Korsky, are you asking that this get referred? It's green, there's too many extra mics.
Oh, let me click.
No, still too many.
My magic button
Yep,
didn't
there
work.
you go.
There you go.
So Attorney Pecorski, should this have gone from the floor of the council to your office simultaneously as it came here, or to your office first and then here?
Everyone does it differently. Some people send it to, like the CHRO ordinance, Jarrell had sent it to my attention for review prior to it. It can be done whichever way, just as long as it does go through our office in case there's any issues with it.
So you
And it-
just pointed out an issue in C of the ordinance in the first sentence. So are you recommending that we strike it, that we reword it, or that we refer it to you before it goes back to the council for recommendation of language change?
My suggestion would be to strike it because it's in conflict with the charter. The charter is prevailing. The charter details the powers of the mayor, of the council, and I think this is conflicting with the mayor's powers under the charter.
Okay. So having asked you that, I'm going to ask John McNamara, who's the maker of this resolution. Does he have any objection to us doing that at this point in time?
Counsel, could you review what you're striking and what you're leaving in?
Sure, I would just recommend striking the first sentence, which says, "The audit subcommittee, shall provide general oversight of finance department functions, including compliance with applicable laws and regulations relating to financial controls and other related matters."
All right. I can agree to that in the sense of this is about hiring the independent auditor. And if you read the ordinances, the AFL committee already has cognizance and jurisdiction over it. It's not exclusively the mayor, if I misheard you.
The only thing I was saying is about the oversight of the financial the finance department. So that first sentence. With
Yeah,
respect to the independent auditor, I didn't have any issue with that language.
Right. Well, that's the intent of the motion, Mr. Chair, to do the independent audit through the appointing authority, which state law supersedes city charters. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah. So that's the intent of it. I think the AFL committee has within its jurisdiction to do those things that council says the mayor has powers over, because the council does have authority and powers when it comes to finance and budget matters. Thank you. So I have no objection to the striking of that sentence.
Okay.
Thank you,
Mr.
Alderman McNamara. Chair recognizes Alderman
So at
Severcek.
this time, I would like to make a motion to amend subsection C to strike that whole first sentence so that the beginning sentence would start, "It shall review all items relating to the selection of an independent auditor."
Do I have a second for the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman McNamara. I believe all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. I believe that's it. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, you
Oh,
just have to
excuse me,
vote on the
sorry.
original motion.
We got excited. All right.
You go next.
So, we have to restart.
As, no, now you just say, seeing no further discussion, the motion as amended once.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
Okay. I retract that thing. I'm reading, I'm
was just-
reading it.
You were just helping. The motion carries. The motion carries.
You're fired as a consultant.
And now, can I have a motion to adjourn? All right. Thank you, everyone.
You are fired.
Can I hit this hammer?
I was just reading the script as it was.
I'm like, nay, what's wrong with you?
I did. May I have a motion to adjourn? Well,
I did.
Sharon made it, seconded by Alderman Gibson. And now I'll hit the hammer a second time.
There you go.
I'm sorry, guys.
Two bites of the hammer. Thanks, everybody.